Stop telling people to be humble. You know what humility has done for most people? It has kept them broke, kept them silent, kept them invisible, and kept them stuck in positions they should have left 10 years ago. I'm tired of watching talented people shrink themselves because someone told them that being small is being spiritual. The most dangerous lie ever told is that you have to wait your turn. Earn your spot. Prove you're ready before you step into what's already yours. While you're busy being humble, someone half as talented but twice as bold is taking the seat that has your name on it. They're not better than you. They're just not afraid to act like they belong there. And the world rewards people who act like they deserve it, not people who wait for permission to exist. So, maybe the problem isn't that you're not good enough. Maybe the problem is you've been too humble to claim what's already yours. You know what breaks my heart? It's not the person who fails. It's not even the person who never tries. What breaks my heart is the person who has everything they need inside of them but walks through life like they're borrowing space on this earth. That's the real tragedy. You see them every day. Maybe you see one in the mirror. Someone with gifts wrapped up so tight that the world never gets to benefit from what's inside of them. And why? Because they don't act like they deserve to be here. They don't behave like they have a right to the greatness that's already in their DNA. Let me tell you something that will change your life if you let it sink in. You don't get what you deserve in life. You get what you act like you deserve. Read that again. You get what you act like you deserve. A person can have a doctorate degree and still get treated like they didn't finish high school because of how they carry themselves. Another person can have barely finished secondary school but command a room full of executives because they learned this secret. Your credentials don't speak as loud as your conduct. Your resume doesn't carry as much weight as the way you walk into a room. The problem with most people is they're waiting. They're waiting for someone to give them permission. Waiting for the right time. Waiting to feel confident. Waiting to feel ready. Waiting to feel worthy. And while they wait, life passes them by. Opportunities knock on their door and they don't answer because they think the opportunity made a mistake. They think it knocked on the wrong door. So they stay quiet, hoping it will go away and find someone more qualified, more prepared, more deserving. That's the sickness that's killing this generation. We've been trained to wait for permission to be who we already are. I met a young woman a few years ago. Her name was Nadia, a brilliant woman. Her father was one of the most respected architects in their city. Growing up, she would sit in his office after school, watching him design buildings that would stand for generations. She understood structures, angles, spaces. By the time she was 16, she could look at a blueprint and spot problems that trained architects missed. Her father saw it. He knew she had inherited not just his talent, but his vision. He paid for the best education, sent her to study architecture at a prestigious university. She graduated top of her class. But here's where the story gets painful. When Nadia finished university, she got a job, not as an architect, as a secretary in an architecture firm. She answered phones, she scheduled meetings, she made coffee for 7 years. 7 years of making copies of blueprints she could have designed better herself. 7 years of sitting in a reception area while less talented people walked past her into offices and created buildings she only dreamed about. Her father would call her confused, frustrated. Why are you still there? Why aren't you designing? And she would say, I'm waiting for them to notice me. I'm waiting for my chance. One day, one of the senior architects was sick. There was a client meeting, an important one, and someone needed to present a design proposal. The partners were panicking. Nadia was sitting at her desk, listening to them scramble, and something inside her shifted. She stood up. She walked into that conference room without being invited. She said, I can present it. They looked at her like she had lost her mind, the receptionist. But they were desperate. They gave her the file. She had 30 minutes to prepare. Nadia walked into that meeting and didn't present like a secretary hoping for approval. She presented like the architect she'd always been. She commanded that room. She answered questions with authority. She saw problems in the design and fixed them on the spot. The client was stunned. The partners were speechless. By the end of the week, she had her own office. Within a year, she was a partner. Within 3 years, she had her own firm. Same woman, same talent, same education, but different behavior. She stopped acting like someone waiting for permission and started acting like someone who already had the right to be there. What changed? Not her ability, not her knowledge. What changed was how she carried herself. She stopped behaving like a secretary and started behaving like an architect. And the moment her behavior changed, her reality changed. That's the principle I'm trying to get you to see. You don't wait until you feel like you deserve it to start acting like you deserve it. You act like you deserve it, and then your feelings catch up. You act like you deserve it. And then the world catches up. See, most of us have this backwards. We think confidence comes first, then action. We think we need to feel worthy before we behave worthy. That's not how it works. Behavior creates evidence. Evidence creates belief. Belief creates confidence. You act your way into a new way of thinking. You don't think your way into a new way of acting. When you change how you behave, you change what you believe about yourself. And when you change what you believe about yourself, you change what's possible for you. The tragedy is not that Nadia spent 7 years as a secretary. The tragedy is how many people spend their entire lives there. How many people die with their gifts still wrapped up, their potential still untapped, their purpose still unfulfilled, because they never learned to act like they deserved more. They had everything they needed. They just didn't behave like it. And in life, behavior is everything. It's not what you have that matters. It's how you carry what you have. It's not your potential that opens doors. It's how you present your potential. You were not created to beg for opportunities. You were created to create them. You were not designed to wait in reception areas of your own life. You were designed to walk into the rooms where decisions are made and make them. But none of that happens until you start acting like you deserve to be there. Now, let me take you deeper into something critical. There's a law operating in the universe that most people don't understand. I call it the law of congruence. What does that mean? It means your external world will always align with your internal world. Your outside will always match your inside. Not what you say you believe, not what you hope you believe, but what you truly believe. Demonstrated by how you behave. Your life right now is a perfect photograph of what you actually believe about yourself. Not what you wish you believed, what you actually believe. And here's the problem. Most people have a split. There's a war going on inside of them. Part of them knows they're capable of greatness. Part of them is terrified of it. Part of them wants to rise. Part of them wants to hide. And this internal conflict shows up in inconsistent behavior. One day they're bold, the next day they're timid. One moment they speak with authority, the next moment they apologize for taking up space. This inconsistency keeps them stuck because the world doesn't respond to your potential. The world responds to your pattern. And if your pattern is inconsistent, your results will be inconsistent. You cannot live one way internally and another way externally and expect to get anywhere. You cannot think like royalty and behave like a beggar and wonder why you keep getting scraps. You cannot see yourself as powerful and walk around with your shoulders slumped and your voice quiet and expect people to follow you. There has to be alignment. Your walk has to match your talk. Your behavior has to match your belief. And when those two things sync up, that's when everything changes. Let me tell you about a man I knew named Jamal. Jamal made the best food you ever tasted. I'm talking about food that made you want to call your grandmother and apologize for ever saying she was the best cook in the family. This man had a gift. He had a food cart on a busy street corner in the city. Every day, lunchtime, there would be a line. People loved his food. But here's what I noticed. Jamal acted like a street vendor. He would stand behind that cart with his shoulders hunched, taking orders like he was doing people a favor by letting them buy from him. He'd apologize if someone had to wait. He'd give discounts when people complained about the price, even though his food was worth 3 times what he charged. In his mind, he was just the food cart guy. Small, temporary, barely getting by. One day I pulled him aside. I said, Jamal, why are you acting like you're asking people for charity? They're lined up to give you money. You have something they want. He looked at me confused. I said, you're treating this cart like you're lucky to be here. Start treating it like they're lucky you're here. That conversation bothered him. I could tell. But something shifted the next week. I came back to his corner and something was different. The cart looked the same. But Jamal was different. He stood up straighter. When people ordered, he didn't apologize for the wait. He said, your food will be ready in 8 minutes. It's worth the wait. When someone complained about the price, he didn't offer a discount. He said, this is the price for quality. You won't find better. His energy was different. He carried himself like he was running a 5-star establishment, not a street cart. And you know what happened? People started treating him differently. The complaints stopped. People stopped trying to negotiate. They started asking him about his recipes, about his story. One day, a restaurant owner was walking by, saw the line, tried the food. He offered Jamal a chance to be the head chef at his restaurant. Jamal said no. He said, I'm building something of my own. That stunned me. This was the same man who 2 months earlier acted like he was apologizing for existing. Now he was turning down job offers because he saw himself differently. Within 2 years, Jamal had 3 restaurants, same food, same recipes, but different behavior. He didn't wait until he had the restaurants to act like a restaurant owner. He acted like a restaurant owner while standing behind a food cart. And the universe said, okay, if you're going to behave like that, let me match your external reality to your internal reality. That's the law of congruence, you see. Jamal's food didn't change. His talent was always there, but his behavior changed. And when his behavior changed, opportunities that were always around him suddenly became visible. They were there the whole time. He just couldn't see them because he was vibrating at the wrong frequency. He was broadcasting lack, so he kept receiving lack. The moment he started broadcasting abundance, acting like someone who had value to offer, not someone begging for a chance, everything shifted. This is what I need you to understand. You have an assignment. Before you were born, you were assigned greatness. You were assigned purpose. You were assigned gifts and talents and abilities that the world needs. That's not up for debate. That's already done. But here's the part most people miss. Having an assignment is not the same as accepting the assignment. You can be assigned to be a leader and spend your whole life acting like a follower. You can be assigned to be wealthy and spend your whole life acting like poverty is your portion. The assignment doesn't automatically become your reality. You have to accept it. And you accept it through your behavior. Your behavior is the language of acceptance. When you act like you deserve it, you're telling the universe, yes, I accept this assignment. I receive what's been given to me. I will steward this gift with dignity. But when you act small, when you shrink, when you hide, you're saying, no, I reject this assignment, give it to someone else. And the universe will honor that too. It will pass you by and give your assignment to someone who will accept it through their actions. So the question becomes, how do you change? How do you go from acting like you don't deserve it to acting like you do? Because I know what some of you are thinking right now. You're saying, but I don't feel worthy. I don't feel confident. How can I act like I deserve something when I don't feel like I deserve it? That's the question. And the answer is going to challenge everything you've been taught. You have to understand something about the human mind. Your mind is running on a script. Every single day, you're telling yourself a story about who you are. Most people don't even know they're doing it. But there's a voice in your head, a narrative, a constant commentary about your identity, your worth, your capabilities. And for most people, that script was written by someone else. It was written by a parent who said you'd never amount to anything. It was written by a teacher who said you weren't smart enough. It was written by a friend who betrayed you and made you believe you weren't valuable enough to be loyal to. It was written by a society that told you to know your place and stay in your lane. And now you're walking around living out a script you didn't write, playing a character you never auditioned for, accepting limitations that were never yours to begin with. That script is running in the background of your mind every single day, dictating your behavior, determining your choices, limiting your possibilities, and until you rewrite that script, nothing changes. You can read all the books you want, you can attend all the seminars, you can have people pray for you and prophesy over you, but if the script in your head still says you're not enough, you'll keep acting like you're not enough. So how do you rewrite it? You start speaking to yourself differently. You start talking to yourself like you matter. Not tomorrow, not when you feel like it, right now, today. You take authority over the narrative in your own mind. When that voice says, you're not qualified, you interrupt it and say, I'm learning and growing every day. When it says, people like you don't get opportunities like that, you stop it and say, I create my own opportunities. When it says, you failed before, you'll fail again, you correct it and say, I learned from that experience and I'm better because of it. This is not positive thinking. This is not pretending. This is taking ownership of the story being told in your own head. Because here's what most people don't realize. You wouldn't let a stranger follow you around all day telling you you're worthless, you're stupid, you're a failure. You tell them to leave you alone. But you let yourself do it. You let your own inner voice abuse you, discourage you, to limit you. And then you wonder why you can't break through. You're living with an enemy in your own mind. Let me tell you about a woman named Amara. Amara cleaned offices at a university. Every night, after the students and professors went home, she would come in with her cart, empty the trash, vacuum the floors, wipe down the desks. Invisible work, the kind of work where people look right through you like you're part of the furniture. But Amara did something different. While she cleaned, she would listen. The classrooms had recordings of lectures playing for students who missed class, and while she emptied trash cans, Amara would listen to those lectures. Philosophy, economics, literature. She absorbed everything after a few months. Something started changing in Amara. The way she saw herself began to shift. She wasn't just a cleaner anymore in her mind. She was a student who happened to be cleaning to pay her bills. So she started acting like it. She started dressing differently. Not expensive clothes, she couldn't afford that. But she started carrying herself with more care, more intention. She started speaking differently. When professors would pass her in the hallway, instead of looking down and moving aside, she would make eye contact, smile, say good evening. Some of them started saying good evening back. One night, she was cleaning a classroom where a group of professors were having a late meeting, discussing a complex problem in economic theory. She was wiping down the board, and she heard them going in circles, debating the same points over and over. And something inside her couldn't stay quiet anymore. She turned around and said, "Excuse me, but what if you approached it from this angle?" And she offered a perspective she'd heard in one of the recorded lectures. They connected to something from a philosophy lecture she'd heard the week before. The room went silent. These professors stared at her. One of them said, "That's brilliant. Who are you?" Amara started being invited to sit in on discussions. Professors started asking her what she thought about things. One of them assumed she was a graduate student and asked what her research focus was. When she told him she was a cleaner, he was shocked. He said, "The way you carry yourself, the way you think, I thought you were a faculty." Within 6 months, 3 professors had helped her apply for a scholarship. She enrolled in classes. It took her longer than traditional students because she was still working, still cleaning to pay her bills. But she finished, got her degree, and today Amara teaches at that same university, not cleaning the classrooms, standing at the front of them. What changed? Did she suddenly become smart when she enrolled? No. She was always intelligent. But she started acting like she belonged in academic spaces before anyone gave her permission to be there. She stopped behaving like someone who was less than and started behaving like someone who had something to contribute. And when her behavior changed, people's perception of her changed. When people's perception changed, opportunities opened up. She acted her way into a new identity. That's the principle. You don't wait to feel worthy to act worthy. Action creates evidence. Evidence creates belief. You behave like the person you're becoming. And eventually you become that person. Not because you faked it, but because you accessed what was already inside you. Now I want to shift something in your understanding, because this is where most people get it wrong. They think acting like you deserve it means you have to earn it first. They think deserving is about working harder, doing more, proving yourself until finally you've accumulated enough evidence to justify feeling worthy. That's exhausting. And it's backwards. You don't earn what you deserve, you claim it. There's a difference. Earning comes from lack. It says, I don't have it, so I need to work until I get it. Claiming comes from inheritance. It says, this already belongs to me. I'm just stepping into what's mine. When you're earning, you're hustling from a place of desperation, trying to prove you're good enough. When you're claiming, you're operating from a place of certainty, knowing you're already enough. And the energy is completely different. People can feel it, opportunities can sense it, the universe responds to it. Think about it like this. When a prince walks into a room, he doesn't walk in hoping someone will notice him and maybe give him a chair. He walks in expecting that a place has already been prepared for him because of who he is. Not because of what he did, because of whose son he is. That's inheritance. You don't earn an inheritance. You receive it. You step into it. You act like it's already yours because it is. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. You are not a beggar hoping the universe will throw you some scraps if you work hard enough. You are an heir. You have an inheritance. Greatness is your birthright. Purpose is your portion. Success is your family business. But you have to walk in that reality. You have to carry yourself with the dignity of someone who knows what they possess. Your presence is your power. Not your words, not your credentials. Your presence. The energy you bring into a space. The authority you carry without saying a word when you walk into a room knowing who you are. People feel it before you open your mouth. They don't know why, but they respond to you differently. Doors open, conversations shift, opportunities appear. Not because you demanded them, because your presence commanded them. I've seen this happen over and over. A person walks into a job interview acting like they're auditioning for approval, and they get rejected. Another person walks into the same interview acting like they're evaluating whether this company deserves their talent, and they get hired on the spot. Same qualifications, different energy. One was begging, one was choosing. And the world always responds to certainty. So let me get practical with you, because I don't want this to just be theory. I want you to walk out of here and do something different today. How do you act like you deserve it in your career? You stop apologizing for taking up space. You stop shrinking your ideas to make other people comfortable. When you walk into a meeting, you sit at the table, not against the wall. When you have something to say, you say it with clarity and confidence, not with disclaimers and apologies. You negotiate for what you're worth, not for what you think they'll give you. You dress like you're already in the position you're going after. You speak like you're already the leader you're becoming. How do you act like you deserve it in relationships? You stop accepting treatment that dishonors you. You stop staying in connections that drain you because you're afraid of being alone. You start setting boundaries. You start communicating your needs without guilt. You start choosing people who add to your life, not subtract from it. You stop begging people to see your value. You know your value, and you only allow people close to you who recognize it too. How do you act like you deserve it with your health? You stop treating your body like it's an inconvenience. You start honoring it like it's the temple that carries your purpose. You make time for rest. for movement, for nourishment. Not when you feel like it, because you deserve it. You stop running yourself into the ground trying to prove something. You operate from wholeness, not depletion. How do you act like you deserve it with your finances? You stop spending like someone who will always be broke. You stop managing your money like someone who's building wealth. You stop playing small with your pricing, your salary expectations, your investment decisions. You think bigger. You plan longer. You act like someone who's going to leave an inheritance, not someone who's just trying to make it through the month. And here's what happens when you start acting like you deserve it. Other people get permission to do the same. Your courage becomes contagious. When you stop playing small, the people around you start questioning why they're playing small. When you start speaking up, other people find their voice. When you start walking in your worth, you give everyone around you permission to walk in theirs. That's the multiplication effect. Your transformation is never just about you. It's about everyone who's watching you, waiting for someone to go first. This is how you change a family. One person decides to act differently. This is how you change a community. One person stops accepting limitations. This is how you change a generation. One person steps into their inheritance and shows everyone else what's possible. So I'm going to leave you with this. Right now, in this moment, you have a choice. You can walk out of here the same way you walked in, or you can decide that today is the day everything changes. Not tomorrow when you feel ready. Not next week when circumstances are better. Not next year when you have more experience. Today, right now, this moment, you can keep waiting for permission that's never going to come, or you can give yourself permission. You can keep rehearsing all the reasons why you're not ready, or you can decide that you are exactly who the world needs, exactly as you are, right where you are. You can keep acting like you're lucky to be here, or you can start acting like the world is lucky to have you. The choice is yours. But understand this, every day you wait is a day the world doesn't get the gift you were born to give. Every day you play small is a day your purpose stays locked up inside you. Every day you act like you don't deserve it is a day you rob yourself and everyone connected to you of the breakthrough that's trying to happen through you. So act like you deserve it, not because you're arrogant, because you're awake, not because you're better than anyone else, because you finally understand you're not less than anyone else. Act like you deserve it because you do. You were created on purpose, for a purpose, with a purpose. And it's time to walk in that reality. It's time to carry yourself like someone who knows what they carry. It's time to stop apologizing for your existence and start celebrating your assignment. The world is waiting. Your destiny is waiting. Everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of you acting like you deserve it. So what are you waiting for? Stop waiting. Start walking. Walk like you own where you're going, because you do. It's already yours. You just have to act like it.